All right, so I'm gonna just begin by reading the definition of a Moor. Now, this is an online etymology definition. So, all right, so being a dark people in relation to Europeans, their name in the Middle Ages was a synonym for Negro. So to let you know right there that in the Middle Ages, Moor is a synonym for Negro. And it says later used indiscriminately of Muslims, so Persians, Arabs, etc., but especially those in India. So pretty much what you can gather from here is that a Moor was pretty much anyone who was Negro and anybody who was non-Christian, because not everybody was a Muslim. And I don't think there was that many Muslims in India at the time as well. So let me show y'all a drawing or an engraving that I came across. Now, this is a portrait of a young black boy, and as you will notice, he's holding a bow and arrow. And let's look at the summary, the description. So, the description reads, the Moor, or Negro, accompanied by a rhyme. The Moor, equipped with bow and arrow, keeps an eye on enemies or wild animals. And it says Netherlands. And the date is 1648, between 1648 and 1658. All right, and let's look at the author, the engraver of this drawing. A Dutch engraver, Cornelius Visser. So he's Dutch. And this was around the time that, like I said, the Dutch was in North America and had their territory called New Netherlands. All right. Now, the reason why this drawing is so important is because when you think about it, and think about the term Moor or Negro or Moor specifically, you cannot apply this drawing to any of these group of people. I mean, no Muslim was dressing like this. This is not how a Muslim looked back in those days. Another thing is the weapons you see he's using. This is the 1600s. Around that time, all those groups of people in India, the Middle East, North Africa, those Muslims, Persians, or whatever, they were using firearms. They had gunpowder. The bow and arrow became obsolete. This is the 1600s. Most of those places already had gunpowder by like the 14th century, 15th century. Now, let me move on. I'm going to show y'all more depictions because this is the depiction of a Negro or indigenous American in North America. This is what they would call an Indian. As you can see, bow and arrow, Moor in Amsterdam. I showed y'all this in my previous video. This is a Moor in Amsterdam. This is them depicting what they saw when they came over here to North America. Another depiction right here. Now this one, look at that. The same posture, the same pose. Bow and arrow, America. And this is a book on the voyages. Now all these sources, all these artifacts I'm showing y'all was created during those days, in those time periods, in the 1600s, when they was exploring the New World, the so-called New World. Look at this. German pharmacy, tobacco store, Indian statue, 1624. This is in 1624. That early in the game. And look, this is a black man, but the title reads German Pharmacy Tobacco Store Indian Statue. German tobacco Indian depiction of a Native American. As you can see, this is what they depicted. This is what they depicted when they came over here. American Indian. Black man. Now, like I said, this is what they saw. So I don't have to lie. I don't have to make up, I don't have to make up anything. So for those coming on my channel talking about I'm a fraud and I'm this and that and I'm just lying, or that y'all want to say black people are not indigenous to America. Show me your sources. Show me what you can bring to the table before you come talking that nonsense. Because I've done my research. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move on and, talk about the Wampanoag a little bit, or King Philip's War. So this book right here is published in 1676. And it pretty much gives you like a brief of the war and like what they came across and what happened. Now, I just want to give y'all like an idea of how large a village was and how small a village was. Now, one of these villages that they came across had 1,500 wigwams. Now, one wigwam can house like 3 to 5 people. Now, if you do the math on that, this fort or village had 6,000 to 7,000 people, and look, 4,000 fighting men. So this is not including women and children. So yeah, I can put the number around 6,000 to 7,000. Here's another village. 150 of their wigwams they set fire to. So they burned 150. They burned a village of 150 wigwams. Now that village population size would have been around 600 to 700. But they let me move on. I'm gonna move on. Let me see. Boom, boom. 700 Indians. 700 Moors. Alright. Now, I was reading, I was on Wikipedia, and I noticed that, they're pretty much boosting up the numbers of people that were slain in the war. Like, when it came to, the Indians, and when it came to the amount of people that died on the English side as well, or the English side. But I noticed that right here they had 3,000, and right here they had 3,400. Remember this book right here? Published in 1676, and they listed 4,000 people, 4,000 warriors. But this one on Wikipedia, I use Wikipedia as a secondary source. My primary sources will always be artifacts, artifacts and books and drawings and paintings that were created in those time periods. I really don't use Wikipedia like that, but I just use it as a general basis to get a general understanding. Then I go to the primary source. Now, they have the casualties at 3,000. And on this page, they have it at 5,000. Now, I'm just showing y'all this because give you an idea how they pretty much, like I said, they boost up the numbers to account for the population of Native American or the indigenous Americans. And what really happened was that many of them were just sold into slavery and enslaved. And that was the disease that killed off the Native Americans or the indigenous Americans in this territory, in this area. And also you'll notice, after the war, they pretty much they used the women and children as slaves. And they sent many of the men into slavery. And also, I had to go back because I remember I just forgot. Yeah, this book says that the amount of people that died was 910, and the amount of Christians that died was 444. So but the last date on here is May 28, 1676, and the war ended in August 1676. So 3 months time difference. I feel like, a lot more people could have died in that time. So the amount of people that died would have been higher. But go back on topic. When you read that the women and children were kept as slaves, you got to look at the definition of a squaw, because this is pretty much what happened. They married into the tribes. When they took the women as slaves or as wives. But pretty much they probably took them as slaves and made them their wives. So they wiped them up, and some of them probably produced mulatto kids, and 100 years later, those mulatto kids, have babies, and pretty much the Indians don't look like how they used to, or the indigenous people don't look like how they used to, Because when you look at the culture of the Wampanoag, you understand that they had a matrilineal system, which means that everything was inherited through the women. So they sent the men into slavery. They sold them. They sent them to the West Indies and all over the place, Virginia, all over, and they kept the women and the children as slaves in New England, and that's what happened here. So the depopulation of the indigenous American in that territory was slavery, pretty much. They didn't really kill off everyone. Like, everyone did not die like how they're claiming. You know, if there was some kind of genocide, but it was mostly slavery was what happened. Now, I'm gonna go over the slave population or the black population, because I feel like I'm gonna have a few of these fools, these ignorant fools, come on my channel talking about, you know, that I'm lying and that, you know, black people, the Africans came here and they joined the tribes or whatever. You know, that's not what happened. No, the Africans did not join any tribes. All right, you know, they didn't run away and marry an Indian wife and, you know, became an Indian. Because like I showed y'all, those depictions of indigenous people date back to the 1600s. So that's far before any before they even started bringing Africans over here like that in those numbers. Now look, the amount of people they say that they brought over here in the northern U.S. part, which is, you know, New York and all that area, is 33,102. And the amount deported is 26,955. So basically 27,000. So do the difference between that, that's like what, 6,000? Absolute number of slaves that they kept in that area. Now, I could put the population, you know, if they have like a positive population growth, I feel like over a 100-year period, they can probably grow to what, 10 to 12,000? Because, you know, you got to factor in deaths as well. And like I said, or like they said, they deported 26,000 or 27,000. So they were deporting people over those time periods, and they were importing people. So if you think about it, really, the population would have been, you know, less than at least 15,000. But here you have the black population at 53,000. And look, they divided 1790 census. It divides it into two categories, slaves and free non-white. 40,000, 26,000. All right. So this is what they have here listed. And, you know, these numbers do not add up. They don't. This is 40,000 slaves, more than what they have claimed to brought in. Because you also got to remember that they deported people and imported people at the same time. So, yeah, like I said, you have 26,000 free non-whites. Now, Native Americans were not included on the census until 1860. Now, and that reason that is I don't know why, but, you know, most of the time, indigenous people stayed on the reservation. Like, if they stayed on the reservation or whatever, on the land or within the tribe land, that they were not included in the census, you know, within the European society census. But if you was in the all-white town or in the city or whatever, then you're going to be listed as Negro, Black, Colored. All right? And this is what really happened. And you can see, the next thing you know, they have a population of pretty much 100,000 people. 1820. Now remember, only 30,000 was brought from throughout the years. All right, so as you can see, even the numbers do not add up, you know. And I'm gonna end this video short for y'all because, like I said, like all the evidence is there. Like all this stuff is documented, all of it.
Here. is the answer. 3 generations. Half-blood grandmother, quadroon daughter, octoroon grandson. Now, as you can see, in the 3rd generation, or 3rd cross, no trace of native origin is apparent. The continuing infiltration of white blood finally stamps out the black color. The Aboriginal has simply been bred out.
You're an Indian? Well, yes. But you're black? Yes. But you're an Indian? Yes. But, so, how much Indian blood do you have?
There are people who even ask me, are you Indian? You don't look like the Indians that I know. Well, okay, fine. I don't look like your stereotypical Indian that's riding on a horse with a bonnet in the plains, and I'm not from that anyway.
What is your name?
Robert Griffin III.
And what school do you go to?
Haley Elementary School.
And that's located in?
Boston.
Okay. Now, question, you were saying something about your teacher said that we were all Indians, or you're Indian?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
We were learning about Wampanoags, and Wampanoags are Indian too. They had feathers on their heads just like you did.
Okay, so they didn't tell you anything about being from Africa or anything. This school was teaching that you was an Indian, and...
Well, they teach us more different things. And yes, they taught us like we were Indians too.
Oh, okay.
But it was rude to say Indians because it was disrespectful to them. So we call us African Americans.
Oh, okay.
But it was rude to say Indians because it was disrespectful to them. So we call us African Americans.
Oh, okay. But you know for a fact that they told you that you were the original Indians?
Yep.
Oh, okay. And tell me your name again?
Robert Griffin III, and I go to Haley Elementary School located in Boston.
All right.
I also give my thanks to John Choi and the prosecutor's office They did a great job in the representation of the facts in this manner in which my son was murdered. And I will continue to say murdered, because where in this planet do you tell the truth and you be honest and you still be murdered by the police of Minnesota while you have your seatbelt on and you're in a company with a woman and a child? My son would never jeopardize anyone else's life by trying to pull a gun on an officer and the gun was not fire ready. These are some of the facts that came out in the trial, and I am so very, 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 very disappointed in the system here in the state of Minnesota, because nowhere in the world do you die from being honest and telling the truth. Now, these are some things that you need to know and recognize. There has always been a systemic problem in the state of Minnesota, and me thinking with my common sense that we would get justice in this case, but nevertheless, it never seems to fail us. The system continues to fail black people, and they will continue to fail you all. Like I said, because this happened with Orlando, when they get done with us, they're coming from you, for you, for you, and all your interracial children. Y'all are next, and you'll be standing up here fighting for justice, just your children. Y'all with Orlando, when they get done with us, they're coming from you, for you, for you, and all your interracial children. For you, and all your interracial children. Y'all are next, and you'll be standing up here fighting for justice just as well as I am. I am so disappointed in the state of Minnesota. My son loved this state. He had one tattoo on his body, and it was of the Twin Cities, the state of Minnesota with TC on it. My son loved this city, and this city killed my son. And the murderer gets away. Are you kidding me right now? We're not evolving as a civilization. We're devolving. We have taken steps forward. People have died for us to have these rights, and now we're devolving. We're going back down to 1969. Damn! What is it going to take? I'm mad as hell right now. Yes, I am. My firstborn one son died here in Minnesota. Under the circumstances, just because he was a police officer, that makes it okay. Oh, now they got free reign. He's found innocent on all counts. He's shot into a car with no regard to human life, and that's okay. Thank you, Minnesota. Thank you, Minnesota. That's all I have to say.
My name is Alize Castile, and I am Philando Castile's little sister. I'm 24 years old. We're 10 years apart. I never really have talked throughout this whole year and throughout this whole process of everything that has happened because I get very emotional when it comes to my brother. But the system really is wrong, and they really failed us. They really failed us once again because my brother was a good man. You never even heard him raise his voice. You never even heard him yell. And for that man to get on the stand and lie, he got caught in 3, 4, 5 different lies. You seen the gun? The gun was in his pocket. Y'all are reporters. Y'all wrote up all this stuff, so y'all know what was said. And for them jurors to not have enough human empathy and a conscience to just do the right thing, that just baffles me. That just baffles me. Was it in his pocket, or was it in his hand? Or did it fall out? Or like the paramedic, y'all patted him down and y'all found it in his pocket. I know my brother. My brother would never, ever put Diamond in danger or Dayana in danger because he loved that little girl. And he loved this state, and I am really just so hurt because he took away something so precious from me. That was my brother, that was my mentor, that was my father figure, that was everything. That man worked hard every single day, every birthday, every Christmas. He was the one that made sure I had gifts. He didn't deserve to die the way he did. And I will never have faith in this system. I will never have faith in this system.
What I have to say is, Yanez may have gotten away with justice on this plane of existence. He will not get away with divine justice. He has to answer to someone bigger than all of us. We're just here. We're just going through this human experience. He will have to face his creator, and I hope he die tonight. Hey, Facebook and everybody around the world, I'm sure y'all seen this bullshit that happened today. Fuck what they talking about. Yeah, I'm going live now. I've been holding myself, trying to be strong and not say the wrong things because I already know how they get down. I'm 61 years old. I've seen it. I've smelled it. I've heard it. Now you see exactly what these motherfuckers think about us. They murdered my motherfucking son with his seatbelt on. So what does that say to you? Now they got free reign to keep killing us any kind of way they want to. So I just want to say one thing to everybody out there. I don't give a fuck what you do. Do what your heart desires, because that shit wasn't right. And I'm here to say that, and fuck the police. Say whatever the fuck you want to say. Now this is the real Valerie Castile. I don't give no fuck no more. This shit is crazy. You gonna kill a man in front of a child and a woman. Who gonna bring children to a motherfucking gunfight? Come the fuck on. Please. I don't know where they got them motherfucking jewelers from, but that was some straight up bullshit. And they gonna keep on killing us as long as we sit down and just take it. Oh yeah, he was in fear for his life. Bull motherfucking shit. You shouldn't be no police officer if you gonna handle yourself in that manner. Do what you do. Cause this shit gonna keep on happening. And it's gonna be you one day in this fucked up mother's club with their children murdered by the motherfucking police. I don't give no fuck. Man, y'all just don't know how sister feeling right now. If I had it my way, it's on and cracking. Fuck that shit. I'm sick of this shit. Y'all been killing motherfuckers all these years, but here in Minnesota, this cracker Bama ass motherfucking state, fuck these motherfuckers. And with that, peace out. Do your motherfucking thing. Whatever. Have a nice life. I hope that motherfucker die tonight. Hello.
Wow. First off, I have to shout out one of my Facebook friends who sent me this. They didn't even send it, wasn't even no message or anything like that. I think they sent it to me as a way of saying, you know what to do with this video. When you see it, you make sure that it gets out there. And I'm not even going to tell y'all who sent it to me. Just know that I thank them wholeheartedly because I did not know about this video. This was a live video that Valerie Castile, the mother to Philando Castile, put together 5 hours ago. This is her raw and uncut feelings about what happened when that verdict was read in reference to Geronimo Yanez getting off for killing her son. So basically she gave you the PC version on those cameras on CNN, but the minute those cameras went off, she said, oh hell no, let me get in my car, get comfortable, get in my element, turn on my phone, and let the world know how I truly feel. And to be quite honest, Valerie Castile is the first mother that I have seen thus far really go in the way that a lot of the other mothers who have lost their sons or their loved ones should go in. She literally has now opened the floodgates for every other mother who has lost a loved one and will not receive any type of justice to tell the world how they feel. From this point forward, every mother or father or family member, whoever, should feel the exact same way she feels. I tip my hat off to Mrs. Castile. Finally, someone tells it like it is, and they do not hold back. Fuck being politically correct. It is 2017. Tell these terrorists how you truly feel. Maybe if more and more people do it, then maybe it'll actually send a message to not fuck with us. I mean, they'll still do it regardless because they can't help themselves. They're like a child in a candy store or a child in a museum. You know how the sign says don't touch, but you still touch it anyway. But still, at the same time, I applaud her for telling it like it is and keeping it all the way real. Y'all let me know what you think, and I'll talk to you in the next one.
Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear.
Father's Day, a trooper in Flagstaff responded to a call that a man was lying in the median. Once on scene, the trooper says a naked man ran towards his patrol car and started punching it. The trooper drove away, and that's when the man got into another car and started ramming the trooper's vehicle multiple times. The guy drove off, but later crashed. He was taken into custody. Apparently, he did all of this as his 4-year-old son was inside the car. Tonight, the boy is reunited with his mom, and that trooper is going to be okay.
Car thief is behind bars tonight after leading police on a wild pursuit all over the county. The 2-hour chase began in Buena Park around 4:30 this afternoon. The driver of a stolen Chrysler 300 sedan led police through Anaheim, Huntington Beach, Costa Mesa, and a number of other cities. But the pursuit finally came to an end in Westminster off the 405 freeway, where the suspect drove onto some bushes, but he still wouldn't give up. So as you see there, an officer bashed the back window with the baton repeatedly to actually coax him out of the car. And that's when the suspect finally put his hands up and surrendered.
It took hundreds of firefighters to try to tame the giant flames. They had managed to stop the forest fire from reaching the village of Avelar in central Portugal, but despite all their efforts, they couldn't get the blazes under control. The wall of smoke and bright red flames gradually engulfed the mountainous area of Pedregal Grande.
Everything went up in flames from down there and then from there. Smoke came from over that way and it was like hell. We didn't get any sleep.
Exhausted fire crews battled the fires on several fronts. Investigators believe that a lightning strike might have started the fire. They found a tree that was hit during a dry thunderstorm. High temperatures and strong winds have been stoking the fire, the flames and smoke sweeping over a major road. But for many trying to escape, it was too late. They couldn't beat the speed of the wildfire and died after becoming trapped in their cars. Portugal's Prime Minister has called this the worst human tragedy to take place in this country in recent years. Past governments had been under increasing pressure to try to improve forest fire safety measures, and this government is sure to feel that same pressure.
Another attack in Mali, this time on the outskirts of Bamako, a resort popular with Westerners and wealthy Malian families. 4 gunmen stormed the resort just after lunchtime as families gathered around the swimming pool.
They started firing as they entered. There was a foreigner in the swimming pool who grabbed a gun and shot one of the attackers. That's when the situation suddenly deteriorated. We called the local police.
The attackers took them hostage. A French soldier inside the sprawling resort called for help. Some of the attackers took position from a vantage point, expecting a gunfight.
We were told around 4 p.m. that there were gunshots. Security forces arrived on the ground straight away. Once they arrived, the attackers fell back towards the hill and tried to hold the ground. At first, we thought it was armed robbers, but we know that armed robbers don't try to stand their ground. That's how we worked out it was a terror attack.
Quickly, Malian, French, and UN forces were on the ground. It took hours to rescue most of the hostages.
I was with some clients and I helped them jump out over a wall. I got tens of people out that way.
After a prolonged gunfight, security forces say they neutralized attackers.
I saw one guy with a broken leg. I don't know if it was from a gunshot, but yes, there were injured people.
They found explosive devices inside the resort. They continue to sweep the area, fearing some of the attackers may be on the run. No one yet has claimed responsibility for the attack.
This is one of many attacks affecting Mali in recent months. In March, Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb joined forces with 3 other insurgent rebel groups of northern Mali, targeting Westerners, soldiers, and the Malian state. Despite efforts by the government by bringing more troops on the ground, these attacks have intensified.
This year's Al-Quds March in London was the subject of much controversy after Zionist groups tried to get it banned. But that didn't stop thousands from turning out to express their solidarity with the Palestinians and to denounce Zionist aggression as well as Western backing for Israel.
This is a day that almost after a whole month of fasting, we stand up for justice, we stand up for truth, we stand up for those oppressed who have been oppressed for the last 70 years, despite the fact that everybody knows they're committing war crimes. Everybody knows they're targeting and killing children. Everybody knows that they are in illegal occupation.
A small group of Zionists tried to disrupt the march as it made its way from the BBC headquarters to the US Embassy. The Zionists were particularly vexed by some of the Al-Quds March's support for the Lebanese resistance group Hezbollah.
As usual, this year's Al-Quds March has wound its way from the headquarters of the BBC in central London to the US Embassy here in Mayfair. And they've chosen this destination because the US is the main sponsor of Israel.
I am here to defend the people of Palestine, to remember Al-Quds, to say that Al-Quds is a sacred city for all, shouldn't be occupied by the Zionists. It should be open to all faiths freely. And that I am here to ask the Arab governments to wake up and to redirect their efforts towards Palestine, towards Al-Quds, towards Jerusalem. It is shameful that they get distracted by their internal feudings, especially the Saudis who have formed an alliance with the Zionists now.
The Al-Quds March finished with several speakers, including several anti-Zionist Jews, castigating Israel. And despite attempts to disrupt this year's march, public support in the UK for Palestine appears to be strong.
5:34, we're protecting your family this morning. We've been talking about this story throughout the morning. If you've got a baby at home, you might want to check the food you use.
There's a new report out that shows there are detectable levels of lead in 20% of food that's tested. Liz Lewin is live for us at the Digital Dashboard to explain.
Good morning, Ed and Katie. Some important information for moms and dads this morning. CNN reports those detectable levels of lead can be especially found in fruit juices and in vegetables. The Environmental Defense Fund found the presence of lead through an analysis of 11 years of federal data. Experts focused on baby food because consuming lead, they say, can affect development. Now, while samples were not identified by brand and levels are thought to be relatively low, the CDC says there's no safe blood level when it comes to lead in children. So what exactly did they find? Let's break it down for you. Well, of the 2,164 baby food samples, 20% they say contained lead. Now, the most common were apple juice, grape juice, sweet potatoes, carrots, and cookies like teething biscuits. Now, parents, before you avoid buying these products or similar ones, experts say talk to your kids' doctors about risks for lead exposure and seek their advice when it comes to food. At the Digital Dashboard, Liz Lewin, 7 Eyewitness News.
Okay, Liz, thank you very much. This was a hot topic that we were discussing this morning at 4:15 when we do our Facebook Live. So if you're interested in getting more information, you can log on. We'll have more for you on our WKBW app. Really interesting stuff here for moms and dads.
Yeah, and something that a lot of parents need to know about. Obviously, it was found in so many different types of baby food.
So much information to go through.
Yeah, those plants, exactly.
Yeah.
10 on your side has been digging into the criminal history of a man who was just charged with murder. We learned this isn't the first time he's been on trial for such a crime. Franklin Lane is in the Portsmouth jail. Police say he shot and killed 70-year-old John Noonamaker on Chippewa Trail on June 8th. 10 on your side learned Lane spent 25 years in prison for the 1987 murder of Buck Buchanan in Portsmouth. Buchanan was 63 when he died. Lane was sentenced to life in prison, but was paroled in 2012. We talked with Buchanan's son, who says he was watching TV when he saw the name Franklin Lane flash on the screen. He couldn't believe it was the same person.
I started getting a little upset. No, because the pieces started to fall together that this was the same man. Now I have a lot of questions.
You're just waking up with us. We are following some breaking news out of New Haven right now. A carjacking police pursuit through several communities. News 8's Ken Pierce live in West Haven this morning with the very latest on what's happening out there. Ken.
And Keith, the very latest is that 2 people are now in handcuffs in this overnight carjacking that started in New Haven, led to a high-speed chase through several other towns. The car chase then ended here in West Haven, right back there in that parking lot off of First Avenue. But then a foot chase started before this was all over. Now, here's what happened. News 8 cameras were the only ones there as a woman was arrested here in West Haven. New Haven police say she was one of possibly 3 suspects that allegedly showed a gun and carjacked a Nissan Maxima on Foot Street in New Haven. Police got the call about that at 1:13 a.m. It was about 2 hours later, around 3, when they spotted that car at the Getty station on Kimberly Avenue. Well, the carjackers drove off, leading police on a chase up on I-95 that went as far as the Milford Orange line. The car then doubled back, eventually ending up here in West Haven, and that's where police arrested that woman around 4. A man then took off running. New Haven police grabbed him at about 4:30 in a backyard back in New Haven off of Truman Street. Again, News 8, the only cameras there as police put him in handcuffs. So the car has been recovered. I spoke to the owner of that car, and he says he is fine after the carjacking. There is this talk about a third possible suspect in this case. And we saw a police canine unit sniffing around in some weeds not far from here just a little while ago. So police may still be looking for that third possible suspect.
We're following breaking news right now out of Lake Worth. Just confirmed within the last half hour, deputies say they're at the scene of an overnight shooting.
WPTV News Channel 5's Charlie Keegan is on that scene right now. More deputies just got there.
A very active scene right now, Mike. The crime scene unit just pulled up behind the tape here, right here. That's keeping us away from Railroad Avenue, which is just beyond the next block here. We're on South 15th Avenue, 15th Avenue South in the city of Lake Worth. And deputies tell us that this morning they found a man in the street there in Railroad Avenue with multiple gunshot wounds. Now, paramedics rushed that man to the hospital. He is in the hospital now, but is expected to survive. They say that his injuries are non-life-threatening despite being shot several times. As for the person who pulled the trigger, the shooter in this case, that person is still on the loose. Deputies in the sheriff's office have not released a description of a suspect that they're looking for, but they definitely have a presence, still a heavy deputy presence in the neighborhood here around Lake Worth and South 15th Avenue and Railroad Avenue. The crime scene unit is here. We have seen deputies with their flashlights looking on the streets, looking at different houses, all trying to figure out exactly what took place. But I can tell you that at this point, we know that a man was found shot with multiple times in the road on Railroad Avenue, taken to the hospital, but expected to survive. And of course, as we get more information, we will continue to update you throughout the morning.
Police are investigating a homicide near 71st in Cleveland.
And 41 Action News reporter Belinda Post is live with what we're learning this morning. Belinda?
Patrick and Lindsay, if we took a look about 15 minutes ago, this story would be a lot different. It would look different. There would be some crime scene tape. There would be officers out here investigating. They just left about 15 minutes ago. So what they're looking at is the 66th homicide of the year in Kansas City. Now, even more ironically, over the weekend, there were 2 homicides that sound similar to this one. However, they are not connected, but they did happen within blocks of this 71st and Cleveland area. So let's take you back to around 2 this morning. That's when officers were called out here because somebody heard a man and a woman fighting and there were gunshots. Now, when they got here, they found a man had been shot several times and he was taken to the hospital for those wounds, but unfortunately, he did die. Now, as we get more information, we will bring that to you.
Ariel Ricker welcomes an asylum seeker to a legal consultation. The Hawaiian-born lawyer abandoned her practice a year ago to set up Advocates Abroad, a group that offers legal aid to those seeking international protection. Ricker herself took on Lesbos, ground zero in this great experiment, out of concern for American human rights standards.
America is a land of migrants, and there's an anger, I think, about how this election turned out. It showed us that we were not as secure in our decency, in our belief of human rights. And so now that it's clear that those things are under threat in our own country, I think we all feel a sense of, I must go find this human rights conviction in myself, and I must bring it to as many people who need it.
The asylum center at Moria Camp processes about 50 people a day, but many have waited for almost a year. About 1,500 refugees and migrants still arrive in Greece each month, but roughly twice that number is now being processed through asylum approvals, deportations, and relocation elsewhere in Europe. So if current trends hold, Greece should, over the next few years, work through its backlog of asylum applicants. The problem is that the process isn't that fast here on the islands of the Eastern Aegean. The EU-Turkey agreement has turned them into a buffer zone absorbing new arrivals. In the camp, a dozen Syrian Kurds went on hunger strike for a week. They've been denied asylum because Turkey is considered a safe country for Syrians to return to. Shia Ismail says he'd rather die here than be deported.
Syria is not a safe place for me, okay, because of war. And Turkey is not a safe place for me because they are our enemies. Where should I go?
In fact, Xiar does have legal options. Syrians who lost their asylum bids have asked Greece's Supreme Court to reconsider the decisions. Its verdict could overturn the notion that Turkey is a safe country for asylum seekers. The head of Greece's asylum service says cases like this are helping to determine policy.
Every effort has to be made to achieve as common a European asylum policy as possible. There's only one other option, an option of total fragmentation. And as we know, asylum is not an item independent of everything else. Everything else depends on asylum. For example, freedom of movement, the Schengen rules, they're all very linked together.
By shepherding these appeals along, legal aid groups like Advocates Abroad are playing a key role in shaping European policy.
A woman says she was forced to kill her ex-boyfriend. The victim says this man, 45-year-old Frank Harrison, showed up at her home with an assault rifle. Deputies say he had threatened her in the past. When he showed up Saturday night, she opened the door and shot him. No arrests have been made. Pasco deputies say it appears to be a case of self-defense.
Our time 5:02. This morning we're following overnight developments in Norfolk. A woman is dead after a shooting on Kimball Terrace in the Chesterfield Heights area of the city.
That's right near Campostella Road and Interstate 264. Let's get right to 10 on your side's Rico Bush, live at the police station, who spent the morning working to get the latest details on the investigation. Rico, good morning.
Good morning, Katie and Don. And police say that someone shot that victim to death inside of a home on Kimball Terrace. According to police and investigators, police got multiple calls about shots fired in that neighborhood just after 7:30 last night. Again, that was on Kimball Terrace.
Father's Day, a trooper in Flagstaff responded to a